It's now time for the Blown Call Show. All of today's important topics in the world of sports, wrestling, and entertainment, told from a uniquely Canadian perspective. And now, here is your host, Mike the Ref, on the Edmonton Sports Podcast Network.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Blown Call Show, episode 88. Here on the Edmonton Sports Podcast Network. It is me, Mike the Ref, Senior Engineer here at Edmonton SPN. I guess this will be going out Friday, April 28th, 2017, from the Palatial Studios of Edmonton SPN World Headquarters in Edmonton, Alberta. Wow, it has been a while, folks. Sorry I haven't been on a little more often. I know I've been trying to get this topic here, which is tips for setting up a card and looking for details of what makes a decent card. Essentially, I've been taking on so much here lately that I haven't had a chance to do my own podcast. Not only do I engineer all the other ones on the network, we've picked up the Sounds of Struggle, which has become a bit of a flagship for us, as much as it pains me to give Chris Parrish and Maniac a live mic and say go at her. They do have a lot of great thoughts on sports and wrestling as well, mostly on sports. I will say that some of their choices for favorite hockey teams aren't exactly the best, but I'll let a dead horse die there on that one. Just finished watching the Raptors advance to the second round of the playoffs. I'm really happy about that. I think this matchup with Cleveland is going to be a lot closer than a lot of people think. There is a lot of Southern bias, and Southern, I mean U.S., that think this is going to be a walkover for the Cavaliers. I think it's going to be far from it here. And then game ones are out of the way here in the second round of the NHL playoffs. I'm just happy the Oilers won game one, and a lot of people are trying to count the Oilers out for the mere fact that they're the underdog in this matchup. There was only 2 points separating the Oilers from the Ducks in the regular season, and the Oilers also won 3 out of the 5 matchups. So that's a great time as well. As you can tell, folks, a lot of my time's been taken up watching hockey and basketball playoffs right now. As well, the 2 brand new web shows, CWC Evolution as well as RCW Breakout TV. I'm actually rendering another episode of CWC Evolution as I'm recording this podcast, so it takes about 6 hours for a video to render for me for about an hour. Thanks to my laptop crashing, I'm back on my old desktop, which is slower than molasses in February. But either way, at least it works. That's what matters. So, with all that, I have been so busy. Unfortunately, I have had to give up my position at Monster Pro Wrestling as their play-by-play man. As you could tell by the list of things I've been going through here, on top of my regular 50-hour-a-week job, haven't had much time to do anything else other than focus on the brand. So, everybody's talking about the brand these days, so I might as well use that term as well. But folks, don't forget to send me in your thoughts. I am going to have some pictures up as well here in the next couple weeks. Thanks to venue issue with RCW, I'm not going to have any wrestling matches this weekend that I have to go to. So the Wrestling Mind has provided me with a ton of photos that I'm going to download to Facebook, and I'm going to try and get some of the better ones up on my Instagram page, Mike the Ref EDM. Make sure you guys subscribe to those, follow them, check them out. It's going to be a hell of a good time, without a doubt. I've missed talking to you guys. You guys know that I have a lot of opinions on many different things, and I allow some of my guys to express their opinions on their different things. So, Sounds of Struggle is one of them, and I got a couple other up in the pipeline here. Stay tuned. You're definitely going to want to enjoy this. And this is going to be the first Blown Call show that's going to be simulcast on YouTube as well. So If you're listening on YouTube, thank you very much for joining me. Make sure that you check out edmontonspn.podbean.com for all our original episodes here. I think we're up to about 240 at this point and over 10,000 downloads, which I am absolutely shocked about. Just waiting for the actual numbers to filter down here over the next few days. And folks, I just want to thank you for the overwhelming success that you guys have made Edmonton SPN at this point. But it seems like I'm blubbering, rambling here. I don't want to make this too long here, so let's get on to my main topic this week, and this is talking about cards in terms of wrestling cards and some things to look for and certain matches that just aren't needed anymore in the wrestling business these days. So let's get to my main topic here, followed by the upcoming events. I'm going to be tackling certain cards when it comes to wrestling, whether it be types of matches that are in there, as well as how to position a card, how it's set up. For people that are asking why I'm coming up with this topic for this show, we got to rewind all the way back to February, March here. Monster Pro Wrestling announced at their February show that because once a year they get moved out of their regular venue and they were moving it to an adult venue for their show, the highlight match of the show was going to be a bra and panties match between two of the competitors in the women's division of MPW. Now, before I get into divulging about the topic itself, I want to talk about the match, because I did promise on the quick calls from the MPW show that I would talk about this match specifically here. In this match, Angelica and Samantha did a lot more than what I expected out of this match. In terms of wrestling-wise, in terms of psychology-wise, this was not your typical 2012 bra and panties match. There was, like I said, a lot more technical stuff involved with it. In the end, there was a tear out to win. Angelica beat Sam in the match. But to me, best way I can sum this up is if you guys check out one of the best podcasts in Alberta right now, the Sad Pod. Last week's show, the guys were talking about going through previous years of WWE, and right now they are on the precipice of 2011-2012, right when bra and panties matches were more prevalent in that generation. Basically, in their words, it was like trying to be an adolescent teen trying to watch this stuff and feeling really awkward about it. As far as I'm concerned, folks, matches like this don't need to be around in 2017. Even though the athletes can do a good job of it and put on a good match, a skin-to-win type match, I'm sorry, there's enough of that stuff on the internet for those kind of people to watch. Apparently, according to other people, there was a very mixed reaction in the crowd. While there were the few that were hooting and hollering and enjoying it a lot, there were a lot that came up to me and said that they were actually upset about it, didn't know why they really had it. It wasn't really explained really well at the February show due to some microphone issues. And the advertising for the match on their MPW Dynamite TV show actually came out the day after the actual match went down. So it sort of been little pieces of others here. But I don't even want to get into that match in particular. There's other matches as well, like the hardcore violence that's come around. There is a niche for it, don't get me wrong. But in a general context, I don't feel that it is that necessary anymore. Unless you are specifically gunning for that kind of match, and also that way to finish a rivalry. You could use it for that, but other than that, just having hardcore violence for the sake of having it, in 2017, it really isn't that favorable anymore in most people's eyes. So most people are saying right now, okay, you know what, Smart Alec, if this is what you think, what are your tips for building a proper card and what people are looking for in 2017? Well, I'm not going to say that I'm know-it-all or if I have all the facts here, because there's never going to be a perfect card, because there's always going to be somebody complaining about it. I find personally I try to stay objective, and I also try to stay positive for the most part when it comes to these cards and setups and matches, because let's face it, there are people putting their lives out there every single night to entertain fans. These guys get beat up, bruised, battered, all for, what, 20, 30 bucks on an indie show, or maybe some a little more depending on what kind of promotion you're in. So here's a few guidelines and tips that I have in terms of constructing a card that promoters typically will use, or fans have to realize that promoters are trying to use in this situation. The first tip they have is know your audience. Now, best example I give you is what we have in the Edmonton and Northern Alberta areas. You got PWA and you got CWC, which are both more catered to a more family-orientated crowd. There's very little of hardcore violence. I know that PWA runs a Mayhem Championship, but it's actually run in a very different way than you will see it, say, Monster Pro Wrestling. There's less blood involved. There's more situation, more action, rather than more violence. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying it's different. Here with Monster Pro Wrestling, you have the technical aspects of wrestling, but you also have that hardcore aspect with the Ripper title and the way that it's defended at times. And then you got RCW that really doesn't know what kind of scenario they're trying to set up. The only thing I can tell you for sure is it looks like it's not going to be very family friendly in terms of the product, due to the language and the conduct of the upper echelons of the business in RCW. Not saying that's right, not saying that's wrong. I'm just stating that is a fact based on the language and the types of actions that are coming up here with the wrestlers. A little more of an aggressive style, I think is the best way to put it. Second of all is the building of the card. There is some method to everybody's madness when it comes to building a card. I've heard many different theories from many different promoters. Hell, I'm trying to learn as much as I can about this personally. When you look at a card, basically you're looking at your talent and trying to disperse it so that the crowd stays at an even keel of excitement, ramping up to a crescendo throughout the night. Typically you want your first match to be a hot match where everybody's going to get into it. Doesn't necessarily need to be hot in action, but something that will give the crowd a decent response to carry on and keep going. Now, in some promotions, that's a little harder than most because they have to pick a very specific match. But if you want to go into the example of what, like a new promotion coming up as in Canuck Pro out of Calgary, if you guys want to check them out, canuckpro.com, some of the names that they're bringing in, I got a feeling they could put any single match on that card as the header, and people are going to go nuts for it because the amount of action that they're going to get is going to supersede any specific order that they need to go in. Some other promotions, well, if you're more of a story-based business or promotion, you may need to get one of your upper action matches in first. That way your second, third, fourth, going into intermission type matches will flow and allow people to sit back and enjoy the story of the match after a certain level of excitement brought up by the origination of that first match, giving them that extra energy. Your special guest, you're typically, if you have a special guest for your show, you're bringing them in just prior to intermission so they could go straight from the match right to the merchandise table, because that's where they're going to make their most money when it comes to selling merch, because everybody's going to be excited about them. Or you put them in the main event, depending on what, like I said, what match you have them going through. So if you're having your special guest come in for a heavyweight championship, I'm sorry, you're going to usually wait for that to the end of the show. If he's in a mid-card match, you're probably bringing that up right before intermission, because everybody's going to reach a crescendo. They're going to love everything that special guest is doing. Then they're going to sell a ton of merch, and they're going to be very happy with you. But typically, outside of that first match setting the table, the rest of your matches are going to ramp yourself up into a crescendo where the fans are going to get more excited for each and every match. Like I said, when you have a card such as Canuck Pro and whatnot, you really can't go wrong with what order you're going to bring them in. Unless you got a local talent coming in or somebody that is recognized locally as quote-unquote one of their own. So, and then the final thing that I want to get into here is timing. Now, timing out a show, folks, now that I'm producing 2 web shows that I'm trying to keep at an hour to an hour and a half, hopefully closer to the hour, it's hard to time out matches so that they have the right amount of time to go through, get the story across in a proper way, and then bring it up to the fans in a professional manner. Typically, you want your opening matches to be shorter, a little more pop, a little less length in terms of story. Every match can tell a story depending on what length they're at. Shorter stories can still produce just as many stories as longer matches. So your pre-intermission one might take a little bit longer just to get a little bit of feel and want people to come back for the second half of the show. And then your semi-main and main will, of course, take a little bit longer because they typically have a little bit more on the line. The days of having that filler match or the breather match in between, for the overall level of talent we see in wrestling these days, those days are typically over now. There is no one particular wrestler in most promotions that you could say, okay, we put them in there so everybody could go take a piss break or go get some popcorn or a pop or something. The fans won't stand for subpar wrestling anymore. So the way of that quote-unquote popcorn match just isn't there. So, and then your main event, well, 95 times out of 100, you're going to want to have that match being your longest match of the night. It's telling the biggest story. The story typically is going to be very easy to see at times. Now, the last guideline that I could talk about when it comes to booking a card is repetition. Now, you got to look at the endings of your matches. Just like wrestlers should be talking to each other about what kind of finishes they're using or what kind of high spots they're using in their matches, to try and mix it up, to not have the same thing. A booker also has to be very careful on how he ends his matches. Now, I've talked about it at the beginning of April here with the MPW Reboot show. I also repeated the same thing with the PWA Hysteria show here at the end of last month. There was a lot of blankery in every match. Now, the biggest difference between the two, and to the point where one was more noticeable than the other, When you're dealing with the MPW matches, you had the same kind of interference going through every match. You had a guy coming in to interfere, cause the victory or loss, and then either have a beatdown or leave. Now, if you're looking at the PWA show, every match but the first one had the same kind of chicanery there, but it was all different ways. You got double countouts, double disqualifications. You had your interference spot. You had your pure six brawl to the outside. You had your face turn on face, heel turn on heel. You had different ways of finishing a match where yes, it is still screwy, but you don't really notice it as a fan. You basically, okay, this is happening and this is happening. Then all of a sudden you look at the card 3 days later and you're like, holy crap, we went through an entire card that didn't have a single match that turned out clean. On this case, we had one, but you get my point here, folks. It's very important that a booker mixes things up. If you want to have the same ending in every match, make sure it's a clean ending. Because if you're doing the exact same thing to end each and every match, or a same element throughout the match that's driving a story, you're going to have fans that are going to be bored with repetition. And let's face it, folks, if you get bored with repetition, you're pretty much going to leave after a while. And we all don't want that because we got way too much good wrestling here in town. But I'm thinking these 4 steps are a good start when you're looking as a fan to see what bookers have to go through in creating a decent card for you, the fans. Like I said, folks, this is not cut in stone. These are just 4 things that I find myself that are very important in terms of driving a card and making shows make sense. And then you're going to walk into shows just like I'm going to mention the Wrestle Circus show here in the upcoming events, as well as the Canuck Pro shows coming up in November and December, where you just have guys coming out. I know that there's a tournament announced for Canuck Pro, but hell, all these matches, just you can throw them in a blender, throw them out there, and what the hell, let's go for it. When you got that upper echelon of talent, you can get away with it. When you have to take it down a couple notches, you got to look at a few of these steps here. But I think that's enough for me talking about my topic for this week. Let me know what your thoughts are. My email is theblowncallshow@gmail.com. My Twitter account is @MikeTheRef. You can check us out, facebook.com/Edmonton SPN. But right now, we are going to take it down to the upcoming events. All right, folks, it's time for our upcoming events here. Once again, the upcoming events are sponsored by the Edmonton Sports Podcast Network t-shirt store. Visit www.whatamaneuver.net/collections/Edmonton-SPN. Yes, it'll be in the show notes, folks. For all the Front Row Mafia as well as One World Empire and Struggle merchandise. We got hoodies, we got tank tops, we got baby onesies. The Struggle versus everything in a baby onesie. How could you not want that? And all proceeds from the store go towards Edmonton SPN programming so we can get some more audio and video up for you guys in a high quality format. Now, thanks to venue cancellation here, there isn't anything going on this weekend in Alberta, but I will give you guys a little independent thought for this weekend. On Sunday the 30th, Wrestle Circus is holding an iPay-per-view out of Texas. It is going to be a hell of a stacked card. The main event is Brian Cage taking on the man formerly known as John Morrison, Johnny Mundo, Boone the Bounty Hunter. There are so many different descriptions for it. It's only $10 American, folks. It's not that expensive. You also have Matt Sydal taking on Sammy Guevara. And then, of course, the match I'm always looking forward to. You have the Lady of the Ring Championship with Taya from Lucha Underground, Taya Valkyrie, taking on the champion, Rachel Ellering. Folks, you're definitely going to want to see that show. Like I said, the cost is only $10 to see it. It's definitely worthwhile. But moving on to the next weekend after that, May 6th, we got one show in Edmonton and one show in Calgary coming up. For those in Calgary, there is the PWA Mayhem show from the Century Casino in Calgary. No details have been given yet, as in the card. I believe they're waiting for the Calgary Expo that's going on this weekend. The Comic-Con that's happening in Calgary. Once that's done, they're going to get things straightened out, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of fallout from the Hysteria show in Edmonton that is going to be followed up with in Calgary, though. But if you're in Edmonton, Monster Pro Wrestling is putting on the Road to the Leo Burke Cup. That is an Edmonton SPN name. I'm going to mention that right now, but this card here, there's a lot of ramifications going into the Leo Burke Cup match. I do believe it is the Orion versus Steve Rivers in a submission match for a spot in the Leo Burke Cup tournament. Now, for those that remember the tournament last year, Steve Rivers, I know I'm not supposed to cheer for this guy, but I got to face it. He got screwed out of the Leo Burke Cup. It was a double pin with him and the Irishman getting the pinfall on Massive Damage, but the referee determined that because the Irishman made the original offensive maneuver that he got the pin. I don't know, folks. That's just the way they had their rules set up at the time. I don't make them. But Steve Rivers is going all or none here, giving up his chance for the Leo Burke Cup in a match where he wants to make the Orion submit and have his first loss in Monster Pro Wrestling. But speaking of giving up big things, you got the provincial champion, Dean Richter, Dynamic Dean Richter, as he likes to be called, Dirty Dean Richter, as all of us should know him by. He's going to be taking on Kid Cyrus in a mask versus title match. If Richter manages to retain the title, then Kid Cyrus is forced to unmask. However, Cyrus is feeling overly confident, and he thinks he can get this title, so he's willing to put his mask on the line. That is one match that I can't wait to see, as long as they keep people like KJ Cash out of the way there. I don't want any outside interference on a match like that. The stakes are way too important. Then, of course, you're going to have the women's champion, Seiko Saraya, in action, as well as the heavyweight champion, the Irishman. And based on the feedback from the Sounds of Struggle podcast, we are going to have a rematch, and this time it is for the MPW Tag Team Championships. You have the version of the new struggle with Shawn Martins and Maniac taking on the champions, the Shark Club, the Wild Child Tyler James, and the Real Deal Sydney Steele. Now, this ended up once again in some blankery throughout this match here, and Parrish has managed to lobby MPW head offices to resume this tag team title match, and they're hoping to get a victory out of this and get the titles that they feel they should never have lost. All right, and from there, we go into Mother's Day weekend, and oh my, is this a busy one throughout Alberta. First of all, in terms of the PWA, they have their Fallout show from the Onaway Arena in Onaway, Alberta, approximately 45 minutes west of Edmonton. Now, I want to tell you folks, this card typically is one of the most fun cards that you will see all year when it comes to the PWA. it just seems to get that vibe in Onaway with all the kids there and whatnot. Last year, I do believe they had about 400 screaming kids in the crowd, and it was a hell of a good time. So if you're in Western Alberta, I do highly recommend going to this show. Now, if you're in Central Alberta on the Saturday, the 13th as well, the Canadian Wrestling Coalition is presenting their Tables, Ladders, and Chairs card. This is the finals for the Canada Cup, where you're going to see Chris Parrish taking on Jack Pride. And then in the main event, you are going to have Johnny Kickass taking on Jude Dawkins for the CWC Championship in a TLC match. Now, both of these guys used to be tag team partners, and now they are the most bitter of enemies. And I don't even know where the winner of the Canada Cup's going to fit into this, because, hell, he could cash in right at that time. So who knows what's going to happen there. But then you also have RCW with their 13th anniversary tour. You got Friday the 12th in Edmonton, 13th the Saturday in Calgary. Some other match dates are going to be announced here in the next week or so. Just want to get some confirmations down and whatnot. And anybody who was at the Maria Washchuk Memorial Show or checked out our Quick Calls episode knows that I've had to schedule a few matches for Edmonton already. Ones that I can announce for you are, one, there is going to be a guaranteed title shot ladder match. I'm going to put a briefcase up, hanging from the ceiling. 5 or 6 guys, I haven't figured out how many yet, going to get in there. Winner of that is going to get a guaranteed title shot whenever they want. Now, speaking of guaranteed title shots, the number 1 contenders match from the Maria Washchuk Battle Royal, unfortunately it was not determined, and every video that I have, thanks to my quote-unquote crack video crew at the time, there was no way I could determine whether Big Jess Youngblood or Markey had won the Battle Royal, so they're going to go one-on-one for that title shot. So will Big Jess be able to defend the title shot against the family, basically the Top Talent family, or will Markey be able to get his first chance at the RCW Canadian Championship? And then you got your main event. After the hellacious 3 Stages of Hell match that Heavy Metal and Scott Justice went through here this past week, might as well ramp it up a little bit more here with the king of the hardcore matches, the Monster Abyss, Impact Wrestling's own, is going to be taking on Heavy Metal in a Monsters Ball match for the Canadian Championship. I got to find some way to get this title off Heavy Metal, and I think this might be the one way I could do it. So there is going to be a lot more on there. I want to get Steven Styles involved in a match here because he's been whining and crying that he's running things, and yeah, well, I'll leave all that stuff to a later date, folks. I'd rather talk about wrestling, not about politics. So, but that's going to wrap up this episode of the Blown Call Show. I'm not going to say when I'm going to have my next one, because last time I said that, it got delayed about 2-3 months here. So I want to make sure you guys check out the Edmonton Sports Podcast Network on iTunes, Google Play, YouTube as well. We're simulcasting all those. Check out RCW Breakout TV as well as CWC Evolution. You can check me out on Twitter at Mike the Ref. You can also check out my Instagram at Mike the Ref EDM. My Twitter account is at Mike the Ref. Make sure if you're going on and checking out our show that you give us a rating. The more ratings we get, the more popular we get in search engines. And let's get the word out about how great wrestling is and how great the network is. So this is Mike the Ref. I want to thank you all for joining me here. And just remember, folks, be nice to your referees because they definitely have a tough job to do. But they will come up with a blown call every once in a while. And this is the Blown Call Show here on the Edmonton Sports Podcast Network.
This has been the Blown Call Show with your host, Mike the Ref. on the Edmonton Sports Podcast Network. For more information on all the network programming, search Edmonton Sports Podcast Network on iTunes, YouTube, and Facebook, or check out their website at edmontonspn.podbean.com.